Welcome to Bruce Hurwitz Presents Meet the Experts. I'm Bruce Hurwitz of Hurwitz Strategic Staffing. I hope you'll consider us for all your staffing, career counseling, and professional writing needs. You can find us on the web at hsstaffing.com. I am delighted to be joined today by Katie Stoller. We're going to be discussing influencer marketing. Meet the Experts is sponsored by P&K CPAs. P&K is a full-service accounting firm. They provide accounting and consulting services to businesses ranging from startups to small and mid-cap companies to nonprofits, as well as high-net-worth individuals. Contact them today for a free consultation at info@pk-cpas.com or call them at 973-882-8810. They will be happy to be of service. Katie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure. Please take a moment or two and introduce yourself to our viewers.
Hi, so I'm Katie Stoller. I'm excited to be here. My background is in PR, and global PR agencies is where I spent most of my career. I'm currently an independent consultant. I still work with PR agencies in a part-time capacity now, but I also work directly with influencers and talent on their businesses, and then do some advising for tech companies and more kind of on the operations of influencer marketing. So really touch pretty much all there is to touch in the space of the creator economy. And yeah, really, I love talking about it too. That's another kind of big thing that I've been doing more on the side, more on the educational side of it. So I'm really excited to chat about everything today.
Excellent. So I will try to get you to talk.
Okay.
The first question is obvious. What is influencer marketing?
So influencer marketing came in hot on the scene, I would say, kind of in conjunction with social media, but more so once it was sort of already established. We had Facebook, Twitter, I guess, was sort of the first one, but we had Twitter, we had Facebook, and then Instagram. With Instagram, we really saw kind of into the lives of people more. Facebook was more about, it started on college campuses. So it was really about who you knew. And then as we got into Instagram and really sharing pictures and, later video, we really got this insider look into people's lives that we had never had access to before, other than, reality TV that was on the rise and, magazine articles. We didn't really see people's kitchens and the insides of their houses and stuff. So Instagram really catapulted people's obsession, I guess, with this voyeuristic kind of thing that I think is natural to humans. And with that rose up these people that were just really appealing to others, whether it was, an athlete or someone that sings on their Instagram or someone just with really beautiful pictures, whatever the reason is, these people sort of gained followings in the early days of social media. And, flash forward a couple years, they became what we now know them as influencers. So that's kind of a long way of just saying, at the end of the day, an influencer is just someone that influences others, whether it's their own audience or a discovered audience from social media. But, I feel like there's a lot more to it that people don't talk about. And that's the stuff that I find so fascinating, how it all started and why we're so obsessed with people on social media.
I had a professor who gave us an assignment that everybody in university gets to write a paper on a topic of their choosing. And one girl in the class raised her hand and said, "Does this have to be something original?" Not meaning that she would plagiarize, but a topic that has never been written on before. And I'll never forget his response. He said, "There is nothing original. Everything has already been done." So I'm listening to you, and I remember a Super Bowl commercial. That's very famous. That's very famous from I don't know how many years ago, with Mean Joe Green. You know the one I'm talking about? Mean Joe Green is this big husky football player. I don't know what his position was. I don't follow football. He is in the tunnel coming out of the stadium after playing a game and apparently not doing very well. And there's a little boy there who says something to him encouraging. And he hands him a bottle of Coke. And Mean Joe Green takes off his jersey and gives it to the little boy. Pause for everyone to get all teary-eyed and to cry. Now, that was influencer marketing. That was using a sports celebrity to sell a product. What's the difference between that and what we see today?
So there's always been celebrity endorsements. Like what you're describing is classic celebrity endorsement. It's the Wheatie box. It's, you know, every single actor has done something with a brand. And it really isn't that different. The difference is that you could be Sally Smith from Nebraska, from your kitchen that likes to make oatmeal every morning, and now you're suddenly famous. That's the difference. Like that football player, we don't know who he is, but let's just say he's, you know, Walter Payton. I'm from Chicago. That's the first one that comes to my mind. Like everyone knew Walter Payton, you know, like they knew him as this mean green guy, whatever, from the show, from the commercial. But nobody knows Sally Smith from Nebraska except for her 7 friends and her family. So that's the difference. This social media boom catapulted people out of their mundane everyday lives in flyover states of America and turn them into multimillionaires, turn them into people that were selling product by the truckload. And this was all happening in an industry that's, you know, this industry is now 15 years old. Like this is not an old industry. So it was happening as us marketers that were working at these big agencies and working with these huge brands were literally building the ship as it was sailing. Like so we didn't even know what was happening.
It's celebrity endorsements by non-celebrities.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and today it's kind of everything because I've done work with people with 3,000 followers and I've done work with Christina Aguilera in her home studio. Like I've done sort of the gamut of all of it. And it all sort of is like encompassed under this influencer marketing, you know.
Now I have 87,000. I checked before we came on. I have a little over 87,000 followers on all of my social media platforms. Now, I know that there are some repetitions. One gentleman who I just interviewed in the podcast, he followed me on Instagram and X. All right. So he's one person. So it's not really 87 individuals, it's 87,000 accounts. And I know that when I publish an article, I'm not going to get 87,000 views. It's not going to happen.
Wouldn't that be nice though?
I got lucky or unlucky once and got over 110 because I was misrepresentative and everybody piled on me. Just as it's going to happen to you once this airs in about a half hour, 45 minutes, when you have to go and find out what team Mean Joe Green played for. And then when you see nasty emails and insults on your social media from that city, you'll know why you're now the most hated person in the country.
I'm like a hashtag sports person. Like I don't know anything about sports, so forgive me, my sports people.
Don't worry about it. I'm about to insult you, and you're the only one who's going to get it. Everybody else is going to be upset at me, and then it'll be fine. So don't worry. I also don't care when people attack me. That's all right. I've got thick skin. I can take it. Now, I want to stay on the issue of celebrities as influencers. Now, everyone would like to have a X, not meaning Twitter, but some famous person endorse their product honestly and sincerely. Best example I can give is an actress who is seen wearing something by someone, carrying something by someone. It's totally legitimate. And then the next day, that company's website crashes. Everybody wants that. But we have the case of FTX, the Bitcoin alleged, I want to be careful, alleged crook. And Larry David and others, but I just remember the Larry David commercials because they were very funny, endorsed FTX. I heard a report that in addition to suing the guy who was responsible for FTX, they want to sue Larry David and the others who had promoted the product. So I have two questions for you. First off, if you are looking for an endorsement, how do you protect the endorser? Or how does the endorser protect themselves? And secondly, how do you know the endorsement is credible? In other words, that the person actually used the product and isn't just being paid to say how great it is.
So there's a governing body that is responsible for all of this. And I won't say that they do always the best job. I think their intentions are to make it so it's very transparent when you're watching an ad. And the problem is that not everything is punished. Like it would be impossible to punish every single person that's not using hashtag ad. And also the rules kind of change fairly frequently. The bottom line is that if you are a content creator, whether or not you're working with a brand, it doesn't matter. You have to follow FTC guidelines. The governing body is the FTC. And there, in the contracts that we draft on behalf of our clients, there's language about your responsibility in following these regulations. So when you're talking about, with the crypto issues and the endorsers getting in trouble, they should have gotten in trouble because they need to also, it's not just on the brand. I mean, that brand was doing terrible things and, I'm glad that they got in trouble, but the influencers and the celebrities posting also have responsibility to make sure that they're following FTC guidelines. The complicated thing with crypto, and we don't have to get into crypto because it's super complicated, but really quick on that is that you're also governed by the SEC. So it's not just the FTC, but you're also the second governing body that's watching you because you're making claims about money and financial. And so that's under their, umbrella. But I actually was in an article last year, I think it was a Business Insider article about Kim Kardashian, because I think it might have been that same crypto, but she did a post. She used hashtag ad, so check the box on the FTC, but she didn't say how much she was getting paid, and that was an SEC issue. So she actually ended up having to pay $1 million fee, which to her is like us paying a $5 fee. And they kind of slapped her on the wrist and made an example out of her, but it happens every day. And I think to most consumers, they can tell if something's sponsored or they can tell something was gifted. I think good influencers do a really good job of being transparent. The girl I represent, if she's using an affiliate link, if she's gotten something for free, if she's at an event that was gifted, she always discloses it. And not even all of that is necessarily in the bylaws of the FTC. Some of it's a little murky, but she just would rather be transparent. And then there's influencers that never disclose anything. And I can tell from a mile away that it's an ad. So it's a very complex topic, but the bottom line is if you are a content creator, it is your job to be making sure you're following these protocols.
So everybody should be doing their due diligence. And I'm just thinking, I know it's an ad, it's not influencer marketing. Well, it is in a way, but it'll say on the screen, paid endorsement, by real client or customer. So okay, they used it, but they're being paid.
Right.
Now for the insult I promised you. And just to give you a hint, in case you miss it, I will, of course, be accused of being a sexist and a misogynist. and a misogynist, which is also okay. You came to all of this on a whim, didn't you?
To what?
A whim.
I don't know what you're talking about. To what? To the podcast or to my career?
Women in influencer marketing. The acronym is WIIM, which to me sounds like whim. So my question really is, tell me about women in influencer marketing.
Oh, I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I know. I said I was going to be nasty.
Well, WIM is an amazing organization. It was started by Jesse Grossman, who comes from, would you have a thing with WIM? I'm confused.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I hate acronyms. And
Oh,
saying WIIM. What can I do with it? Well, whim. She came up with this. She's involved with influencer marketing on a whim.
yeah. I honestly don't even think I've ever like put those together for some reason. But yeah, so
It's
Jesse
now
Grossman,
yours. You may use it.
I'm going to use it. Yeah, I'm going to use it. Yeah, Jesse Grossman was at one of the big like LA talent agencies for most of her career. Then she went off and started her own influencer specific kind of like digital talent agency and found great success. She ended up selling her business. And around that time, she was like, how can I get people kind of together in a group to like, as I was saying before, like we were building the ship as it was sailing. Like we were like figuring out how to do briefs and what it meant to, you know, brief how to brief creators in the best way that like still keeps them authentic, and how to work with creators and how to work with these people that like don't even have businesses because they're just like stay-at-home moms, or they're, you know, young people that this is their first time ever having a job. Like there's a lot that goes into influencer marketing because it's so new that we were figuring out. So she created this networking group and it's been amazing. I mean, I don't know how many people are part of it now, but in the thousands. And we go to events, we have networking events, we do mastermind kind of sessions. But yeah, it's been a great, I think it's helped kind of like in a lot of ways, like solidify parts of the industry because it's all of these people from all these different amazing companies and agencies in one room, like hashing things out. But yeah, I mean, I'm a mentor for them. I do a lot of like mentorship and do some different types of like trainings and stuff, but it's a great organization.
What is the process? And I wasn't trying to belittle or demean the organization. I was just going for the joke.
No.
What is the process that, for lack of a better word, I don't want to say a nobody, but somebody who is unknown has just a few followers can go through or should go through to build up enough of a following, and what constitutes enough of a following so that they can be considered an influencer?
I mean, nobody should go in with the goal of getting followers, because if you do that, you're going in for the wrong reason. So not to like blow up the whole thing, but like the people that are successful in influencer marketing weren't like, I want to be an influencer. They were like, I'm going to post about my outfits every day, or I'm going to post my cooking videos, or I'm going to post my parenting videos, or I'm going to post me kicking soccer balls, or whatever the thing is that got you sort of followers should not be the reason that you like to be famous, for instance. And I think that's an issue with the kind of like up and comers and Gen Z, not to knock on Gen Z, but you know, there's college courses now on like influencer marketing, and that's great. But I think people are they see that it can be a very lucrative business opportunity. But if you go in that way, the authenticity is like gone, you know? So that's not to say that like you can't like be strategic and like be business minded. And you know, I sort of have differing opinions because I go back and forth. Like I get the point of like, if you're a small business and you have an Etsy shop and all you want is to kind of like grow and become bigger, you have to use social media. So I get that. But I also think that when you start with the mentality of I need followers, you're posting to get followers. And that's not the type of post people want to see. So there are I mean, the biggest thing is consistency. That's number one. It's kind of like the end game. If you want a personality on social media, if you want to be known for whatever you're good at, whatever your personality is that is going to make you stand out, if you're posting once a year, nobody is going to care. Like you need that consistency. And truly the people that grow the fastest are the ones that post every single day. I can make it personal for myself. Like I've never had aspirations. Everyone always says like, why aren't you an influencer? You have been doing this forever. And I'm like, I just never cared. Like I love my career and I love building influencers' careers and I love working with brands to build their channels. But for me personally, I am trying to, get out there more with my own personal brand on LinkedIn in more professional settings. And the consistency is huge. Like I don't post every day because I don't care that much, but I post probably like every couple weeks. Like I try to do like every other week or something like that on LinkedIn. And the engagement that builds from the more frequent posting is like, it's just how the algorithm, it's how the algorithm feeds. It feeds on the consistency. So the people that post like once or twice a month and are going kind of slow and aren't growing, I'm like, that's like the bare minimum. That's the table stakes. And then from there, there's like things you can do to sort of like cheat the algorithm a little bit. But if your intentions are ever growing followers and going viral from the beginning, you're not doing it right, in my opinion.
Well, I went viral with that one article, which wound up being great for me because it got me on Fox Business, totally by accident.
That happens too. I mean, it's kind of like don't hate the player, hate the game, or whatever the saying is. But it's like sometimes the stuff that like you're kind of like could be sort of icky or uncomfortable is the thing that catapults you. So
yeah. You're 100% correct. And I can use myself as an example. On LinkedIn, I did not go for followers or first degree connections. I just got them. And all of a sudden I'm at 30,000. No, excuse me, I was at 20,000 and I was at a networking event. And I said, I don't know why, but ever since I've reached about 15,000, I'm getting 5, 6, 7 invitations to connect every day. And there was, I don't remember if he was a mathematician or a statistician. And he said, it's the law of numbers. It has nothing to do with it. All of a sudden it'll build up. Now, I have a newsletter on LinkedIn. I had one on WordPress. When I got the one on LinkedIn, I stopped the one on WordPress. I didn't remove it. I just stopped posting on WordPress. My LinkedIn newsletter, I publish every week. And it has grown now to 4,400 plus subscribers. I've had as many as 3,000 people read. I've had as few as 12 or 1,300 read. Somehow or other, I can't explain it. When I went back to look at what was happening with the number of subscribers I had on WordPress, it had gone from 14,000 to 44,000. It may have been a typo on my part. And it may have been 44,000 when I entered it into my Excel sheet. But the point is that I am endorsing what you said, that if you go for followers, I did it on Twitter. And finally, I realized I'm not getting any business out of Twitter. It's all phony. And that was the end of it. So I started a new one on X. To be fair, they also told me I was following too many people. So it was a mutual separation, if you will. On X, and now anybody who wants to follow me follows me, I follow them back. That's my rule. You follow me, I follow you. I don't care who you are. That's how I'm building a credible network, let's say on X, Instagram, Threads, Truth Social. And I think it's the way to go. I think the numbers don't matter. It's the credibility of the numbers.
Right. And I mean, what you just described is a channel strategy. So like people pay lots of money for people to do those channel strategies and you did it for yourself, which is awesome. I mean, the biggest thing is like, don't waste your energy on platforms that aren't benefiting you. You know, like if you're spending on, and also cross, you know, posting, but making sure that it makes sense for each channel, because each social media network has different type of audiences, different age, you know, demographics. The algorithm is different in terms of discoverability. So your channel strategy has to apply to each of the channels in a way like exactly what you just described. I do this on this channel, I do this on this channel. And they all should sort of work together in a way that, you know,
What I
creates
was
this.
describing was my strategy for getting followers. I do the same exact thing on every platform. I do my article and then I post it on all the platforms. When we're done, I will post this. The YouTube, I will link to the YouTube on all the platforms. The only social media platform I don't post an article on is YouTube, because it's not an article, and when I made a video of it, of my articles, nobody watched it, so it was a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think best practices is to, you know, customize as much as you can. I don't think you absolutely have to, but like, you know, short form is going to be better on a short form channel like an X or Threads. And then, you know, maybe describing the video in a shorter reel on Instagram. You know, there's lots of ways you can do it. And honestly, the bigger brands have much more detailed channel approaches, whereas, you know, an individual person might kind of be able to get around with posting the same type of stuff and everything. But your point is just that you have to be thoughtful. You are very consistent. Like your schedule that you just said, you know, you're not taking 6 months off and coming back. You're consistently posting, and that is the number one way to get people tuned in, because they're expecting, it becomes a habit. They're expecting to see your content every Monday, every Wednesday, whatever it is. And I think that's the biggest like frustration for me, is that people are like, why am I not growing? And I'm like, you took a 3-week break. Like people forget about you in 3 weeks. Like you can't, if you're sick, you got to have backup content. Like you got to really take it seriously if you want the growth to come.
I have
And those kind of
7
die hard.
weeks of articles already written.
Yes, that's
Now I
nice.
have to go back over them and find the mistakes and what have you. But when I didn't publish anything last week, and I said in the previous issue that I wouldn't be because of the Jewish holidays. All right, so there wasn't going to be one last week. There will be one this week. But you raise an interesting point that I want to ask you about. When is the best day and time to post something?
So it's going to depend on your audience again. So whenever you're posting anything, it should be specific to what your audience wants. I mean, obviously, again, back to the algorithm, but the algorithm on discoverability platforms like LinkedIn and TikTok specifically, the goal is to push your content to new people. That's the goal of the platforms. So those ones, it's a little tricky because your target audience might not actually be who's seeing it. But on meta platforms, Facebook and Instagram, and Twitter is like a whole other world. But on meta platforms, for the most part, they want it to be more discoverability, but it is still very much like you're posting to your people. Like on Facebook, it's a news feed. You're seeing kind of who you follow. So you have to think of it like that. Like if you're a stay-at-home mom and your content's all about like your baby's like sleeping habits, you might be able to post at 3 a.m. and have a ton of people online because they might all be up feeding their babies. Like, and it's funny because I used to see, I have 2 little kids, so that's why it's relevant. And I used to go online every night at like 3 a.m. when I was feeding my kids. And there'd always be other moms like doing lives and stuff because there's actually an audience. Like I wouldn't recommend that for a major brand, but that's just to show you that like it totally depends. People say like, you know, Tuesdays and Thursdays because it's kind of like encompassed in the week for like bigger stories. But honestly, like the workday on Fridays ends closer to like 2 or 3 o'clock and people are just scrolling on their commute home. So like, you know, I always like a Friday at 2 p.m. post. I think those do pretty well. And then on the weekends, people typically clock off a little bit more from social media. But if you're a brand where, you know, a football brand where everyone's checking scores on Sundays, maybe you want to post on Sunday. Like you really have to be that kind of specific. And the other thing is testing and learning. Everything on social media is test and learn. you can't just say like, let's do this date and then run with it. You really should be like, let's do this date and test this date and test this date and see what outperforms. So a lot goes into that.
Just to explain, because I don't mind being accused of doing something that I did, but I don't like being accused of something that I didn't do. And the reason I was laughing when you said if you post at 3 a.m. and you're a mom, you'll get other mothers who are up because their babies are crying and they have to feed them or change them. I sometimes suffer from insomnia. And I posted an article at like 2 o'clock in the morning because I just couldn't sleep. And I figured I'll fall asleep, and instead of doing it at 9 o'clock, I'll do it now, because somewhere in the world it's 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And I posted it. And within 5 minutes, I get an email from a very nice lady who says to me, Bruce, I never realized that you were a father and you have a small child. And I wrote back, what in the world are you talking about? And she said, the only people she knows who posts in the wee hours of the morning are parents who are taking care of their small children. And I said, no, you have to add insomniacs.
Yeah.
We have actually gone overtime, which is a compliment to you. Before I let you go, I have a question. Is there anything that I didn't ask, which you wish I had asked? And if I had asked, what would you have said?
I don't think so. I mean, the only thing I'd say is just that this industry, as I kind of mentioned, is like still in its infancy, but it's a $21 billion industry. So it's not going anywhere. So I'm just excited to see the future. I think, people are always like, what's the next platform? And I'm like, we don't know yet. Like, it's just a fun industry to be part of because it's ever changing, it's growing. There's a lot of money to be made in this industry. So stay tuned because a lot more is coming.
Katie, everyone has your contact information. I hope they take advantage of it. And I thank you profusely for coming on. This has been interesting and fun.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I'm Bruce Hurwitz. Thank you for watching. And as always, stay focused on success.